Welcome to episode 6 of the Business of NIL. My name is Ahmed El Houli, and today we have a very interesting guest, Miss Rachel Perkins, the CEO of PLM. Basically, that is a acronym as they call it, but basically Rachel has had extensive experience in the world of athlete management. Used to work for one of the biggest athlete agencies. And she's got quite the resume. So she currently manages over 50 athletes in the NFL and many other sports. So we'll just hold on until Rachel joins the call, and we'll bring her straight in. But yeah, absolutely, Rachel will be able to give us insight on the daily lives of professional athletes, insight that we weren't able to get a hold of before. So Rachel, absolutely, here she comes. Actually, she's just joined us. Rachel is in the building. Let's bring her on. Here we go. Rachel's about to join us. Rachel,
Hey, sorry about that.
how you doing? How's things?
Good. It's been crazy. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Just like yourself, being very busy, just trying to get things moving. But it's not about me. In this show, it's all about you. So let's get into it. Let's tell people a bit about yourself, who you are, your background, what you're currently doing. All the fun stuff.
Yeah, I guess that was a lot of questions, but to start, I started my company, I guess, about 3 years ago, and obviously I've been like prepping a lot for the NIL stuff now that college kids can make money, but I kind of really centered my business around wanting to help athletes, especially young athletes, learn life and learn kind of how to position themselves as a business, learn the business side of things, learn everything outside of obviously what they're learning and doing on the field, on the court, just kind of the holistic approach to being an athlete. So I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily help them learn that side of things. So I think it's important to be a resource and a sounding board and kind of help them through that process.
Awesome. Rachel, let's get into, the journey of athlete. Once they make the professional levels, what the challenges involve, who they are, what the day-to-day looks like. Just give us a bit of insight, what that is all about.
Every day is different for sure. I mean, it's a lot of behind the scenes, it's a lot of grunt work, it's a lot of stuff that people don't necessarily see or you wouldn't necessarily think of when you think of working in sports. I mean, it's a relationship-based business. You have to build trust, you have to do the work, you have to show up, you have to provide value. It's just really important to kind of be consistent and show the guys that you are there for them and not just because they're making a lot of money or when they're making a lot of money or playing well on the field or the court or if they're going to the Olympics and throw, if it's discus or javelin or whatever, like if they're doing well in their sport and their career, like so much more goes into being an athlete, whether it's family coming at them, whether it's monetary pressures and learning how to run a successful business off the field of depositing checks and setting up an LLC and just kind of everything that goes into being an athlete. It's just a lot more than people realize, I guess. So I feel like that's important to me to be able to help them take stressors off and make their life easier.
Yeah, can you just touch a bit on the off-field stuff? Because now with NIL, what we're seeing is that uh, over 500,000 athletes have come to life. And when I say come to life, I mean now is when the real journey starts, because now they're going to be able to make money. They have to control finances. They have to build relationships. They have to get sponsorships. So what does that part of the world look like, and what should these athletes be looking for?
Well, it's different for every athlete. I would say it's really important to kind of get super introspective, really self-evaluate who you are, who you want to be outside of your sport, who you want to portray and what parts of your personality you want to put out there for people. And it's really important not to just take anything that comes your way, because that's a really easy way to saturate your brand, but really just figuring out what makes you tick, figure out your why, figure out the kind of companies you want to partner with, the kind of person you want fans to see, and really like leaning into that and centering all of your content, all of your initiatives, everything around that center brand, because people know when it's not authentic. Fans know, buyers know, teams know, everyone knows when it's just you're in it to make a quick buck. So I would just say have the right people around you to kind of vet those processes, and really make sure it's authentic.
So the title of the episode is the perks and the pitfalls of the lifestyle. So can you talk to us about some of the perks and some of the pitfalls? Let's start with the perks.
Yeah, obviously that's where my company name came from. So yeah, I mean, it really, again, depends on the athlete. So perks wise, like obviously outside looking in, everyone's like they're millionaires and their problems aren't real problems, and they get to spend money on this and that and cars and clubs and girls and travel and whatever it is. But really, so much comes with that. It's obviously more money, more problems. And so really being able to come into that with a plan and a holistic approach, like I said, of just being proactive is really important, because people may think that they are someone that's just into the flashy things and kind of gets whatever they want and doesn't really have real problems. But more money comes with more responsibility, it comes with more people coming at you, it comes with more people bringing you opportunities that you don't know. It could be a horrible investment or a business idea or horrible opportunity, wrong place, wrong time. So like it's really just, again, having the right people around you to be able to help you vet those different situations, I guess, that are getting thrown your way. And so, I mean, on the pitfall side of it, like I've done a lot with my clients of just really, obviously I get to know them. I live through the ups and the downs of their careers, of their life, their home life, their family life, like everything. And you never know what they're going through when maybe they drop a pass, and people are quick to hate on them on social media, but no one really knows that maybe they lost a family member last week, or they're struggling with something like internally, just, I mean, on the mental health side, obviously that's huge. So it's just really being able to be there and listen to those guys, because just being able to like tell them to push it, like brush it off or ignore it or whatever, just leads to obviously more problems in the long run. So I would say the highs are high, the lows are low. A lot of the pitfalls for my guys have just been making mistakes, not asking the right questions, not preparing themselves going into different situations, and surrounding themselves with the wrong people. So
You said the word proactive a couple of times. Can you give us a few examples on how athletes can be proactive so they don't fall into these pitfalls?
yeah, and I mean, there's different parts of the proactive side of the business. I mean, it can be proactive when it comes to building your brand and thinking about ahead of time who you are, who you want to be. But even like before you go to college, figuring out what kind of coach you want to play for, what kind of environment you want to be at. Do you want to be in a big school, a small school? Who you surround yourself with. And it leads into everything from your major and what you want to do post career if you don't make it to the league, if you're playing in college, and building your income, because obviously money comes and goes very quickly. And a lot of this NIL stuff, it's going to be interesting when tax season comes around and scholarships are lost because they're making too much money in marketing endorsements, but they don't realize that's going to counteract with their hope or their scholarship or whatever it is that they have to claim all of that income. So it's really just important to kind of have a game plan, know what could go wrong in different situations, and really just educating yourself, because you can't rely on everyone to just either do it for you or tell you what to do, because that's not always going to happen, and it's not always going to be the right information, especially because your situation is so unique as an athlete.
Can you touch upon a bit about how you said that you make a certain amount of money and then you lose your scholarship? Do you have any information more around that?
Well, it's honestly, it'll be interesting how they kind of monitor all that, because right now it's kind of a crapshoot of monitoring different deals. And I'm very stressing with my guys to be very compliant with their school and their compliance officers. So I'll get on the phone with them if I need to and kind of walk through everything that could become a deal, could become monetary opportunities for them. And so it's really important to know what your school is doing and not doing, the resources they have, and their particular rules in that state, because they differ across the board. And so with NCAA, they don't have any really regulation right now. It just basically is like no gambling, no alcohol, no any like pornography, like anything that's kind of obviously the super taboo areas, but they don't have, I don't think enough time went into creating a system. It was just so much pressure to go ahead and let these athletes make money, which is obviously an awesome opportunity, but it didn't really have time to build out the infrastructure of educating all these athletes on how they need to go about it. So I don't have specifics on obviously tax implications and how that's going to differ. It depends on the state. It depends on how much money you're making. It depends on what kind of endorsements you're doing, and whether it's sweat equity, whether it's whatever, like monetary value, whether it's anything. It's going to be different for every single person. So that's why it's important to be proactive and have that team around you that's catering your entire situation to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a ton of sense. How have you found the first 21 days of NIL? What are some of the highlights to you? What are some of the downfalls?
It's been crazy. I just feel like everyone's scrambling, to be honest. I mean, I've done a lot of work on the back end of just kind of preparing to educate kids in the process. And I think a lot of the kids I've talked to, I'm surprised by how level-headed they are taking things, because obviously if you're not a huge name quarterback, wide receiver at a big school, like there's going to be opportunities, but not, like I said, not all opportunities are good for specific clients. Like it's making sure that you're finding the right opportunities, you're asking the right questions, you're looking at contracts, you're having someone who is knowledgeable in contracts look at that, because I think right now a lot of people are just scrambling. Like there's a lot of platforms out there. There's a lot of different opportunities that you can get your name out to brands, but I would just say that it's been a lot of people rushing to make a quick deal, a quick buck, a quick partnership, not necessarily knowing what they're getting into, and what the restrictions are, what kind of the terms of the deal are, and what like length of contract, and just paying attention to kind of all of the moving parts, because marketing is very complex when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, we've also seen the same. One of the things that we're seeing is there's a huge lack of education.
Mm-hmm.
The top tier athletes are plugged in because they've got brands coming up from left, right, and center. The tier below that, it's definitely missing a ton of education. I mean, if you have any resources that you could share with the audience, or people who you think they should go read up on, or whatever, that definitely would be good to share. If not, it's all good basically. But yeah, it's education is missing, and it's going to cause a lot of headaches moving forward.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been kind of putting together like a quote unquote playbook of just kind of educating athletes on the different marketing platforms that are out there, the different opportunities, kind of how to figure out what kind of partnerships and brands they even want to work with. But it's kind of hard to do a one size fits all approach too. I mean, I've talked to some compliance officers, I've talked to some different like coaches at different schools, and every school is super unique and different in how they're approaching it. Some are a little bit more territorial and want to keep everything in house. Some are the more the merrier. I want to educate my guys. I maybe just don't have the time or the resources to do it. Um, it's been interesting to see kind of how each school has been handling it. But it's again not necessarily a blanket one size fits all approach, because I would say that you need to figure out who you are as an athlete, what kind of money you want to make, what kind of opportunities are for you and for your sport, because that's going to be different for a college softball player versus an SEC wide receiver, or a track and field like freshman, sophomore in college versus like a basketball star at Louisville or Kentucky. So it really is figuring out what's available to you, what your school offers is the first step I would start with, because you obviously want to stay compliant, and they have the resources. I mean, they don't necessarily have the flexibility to be able to secure some of those partnerships for you, but they can advise you on what you should and shouldn't do, and kind of basically just guide you in that process, and then getting trusted resources around you that you can ask those questions that are experienced and knowledgeable in the NIL space, because it's still forming, it's still evolving, it's every single day is something different.
Absolutely, and that probably brings us to our conclusion. I mean, we're seeing the space evolve literally on now more week to week, I'd say, with a few things. Earlier on was day to day, but Rachel, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you joining me on the show. And if you have any final words, feel free to share them.
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram, I know you tagged it earlier, it's just Perks Lifestyle Management. So if anyone has any questions or needs help getting set up on any of the platforms, or really just kind of wants to vet ideas or opportunities that they're getting thrown their way, and people that are reaching out to them, or if they want to be a little bit more proactive, I'm happy to kind of be a resource and educate them and point them in the right direction if I can't help them find the answer.
Awesome. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Rachel Perkins, CEO of Perks Lifestyle Management. Thank you very much for joining me on the business of NIL. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.